Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rod Dressel, Chairman of the Finance Committee. Rich Geratine is absent. Joe Remejo is down here on my right. We have a few matters to take care of here as for Finance Committee. First off, Joe, you're going to help us. We need to adopt the minutes from last meeting. So did you check the minutes
I did.
Motion to
adopt the minutes of March 17th.
And we're both in favor of it. And so they're approved. Okay. The next item on it is a review of the traffic and the revenue forecast from Ascendant Consulting Services. That is one item on. Then there's also the underwriter section, and then there's the third supplemental board resolutions, and any other business and then adjourn. So at this point, I think I'm going to ask Brian to, here he is, to step in and gives us his report of the review of the traffic and the revenue forecast.
Thank you. Back in the early spring, we started a project of trying to evaluate our traffic and revenue results and forecast them for the coming years to evaluate whether or not we would need a toll increase in light of the capital projects we project over the next few years. And having reviewed all of the background economic data, Stantec proceeded to develop their report, which you see, and basically, to go through it quickly, they basically conclude on, excuse me, get through here to the page. If you go to table 3.6, which is page 16 of 26, please. Sorry about that.
It's in the upper left-hand corner.
Yes. Might be stapled shut. I'm sorry. All right. Effectively, what it's describing is the net revenues, considering our forecast for operating expenses, come up short with our ability to meet our capital requirements. In a prior meeting, we had discussed the toll increase, and the proposed toll increase is actually on table 311. Okay, and with that, in conjunction with the proposed refunding, which will come in the next step, this is the conclusion of Stantec that in order to meet our current forecasted capital project requirements, we would need a toll increase. Okay.
Essentially, now that we've gone over it, we've had this packet for several days. So it's our best judgment to recommend that the board approve at the regular meeting. Is that right?
Yeah, we're basically...
That they use that
right,
for information for the toll.
Right.
I believe you just accept this report because it's actually the report is from the consulting service. The board just accepts it so that we can circulate it as part of the financial activities that we need for the refunding.
And that's what the resolution of the board says.
Okay. That's
Vote on that?
the end of the traffic review. What about
Okay.
the underwriter?
I think you need to vote on that.
Did you vote?
For the committee, you need to vote.
So moved.
Okay, we approve that we recommend it, to submit it to the board at the regular.
Me and you, Ron. Got it all, bro.
Well, you got it all.
Okay.
Okay.
The next item,
Next item, yeah.
which would be the underwriter selection. I apologize to the late timing. You've been given this today. Effectively, we had conducted an RFP process to identify a pool of underwriters that we could use for potentially 2 years, both for a refinancing that we're looking at doing in the next couple of months, as well as being able to use them for the new money for the capital projects, obviously the capital project primarily the Newburgh Beacon Bridge. So we had began the RFP process. We received responses to the RFP process on May 27th. Effectively, we had reviewed and interviewed several of them. What we are proposing to do is identify a pool of potential underwriters to be used for either of the two transactions. So this is to go and designate the pool of the underwriters for the next 2 years. Okay? Specifically, having interviewed them and reviewed them based upon their marketing strategy, their capital abilities to take down bonds as needed, their pricing, and with the recommendations of our financial advisor, this is the group that we have come up with, specifically for senior or co-managers, Bank of America, Citigroup, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Piper Jaffray, Raymond James, and Siebert Branford Shank, and as co-managers, Duncan Williams, Ramirez, and Roosevelt Cross. Okay? We recommend for the underwriting team proposed for the refunding, JP Morgan as the senior, and as the co-manager, Raymond James and Ramirez. Co-managers, excuse me. Is that fair?
Chris, do you have
Well,
anything you would like to?
I will just note that the process of reviewing the underwriter submissions involved reviewing all of their initial submissions, and the financial advisor assisted the authority in reviewing those submissions in detail, reviewed their transportation experience, and as Brian said, their marketing strategies, their review of our existing bond resolution, their experience in particularly in the toll area, because toll authorities are somewhat unique, and gave us essentially a recommendation as to inclusion of firms that could be good underwriters for us. And then in addition, we held interviews with 6 of those firms, and on the basis of those interviews and pricing proposals that they submitted, we did a further review, and on the basis of the financial advisor's recommendations, the 3 firms were identified, 1 as lead and 2 as co-managers. We can get into more detail about that if you have questions.
I think we're aware this is the process we have to go through. And so Joe, we're ready to recommend that.
So move, we'll accept the recommendation.
Adopted at the meeting, okay. And so the next item is the 3rd supplemental board resolution.
We had a motion.
We have to move, we have to move.
You moved it. You agree as well.
Oh, okay.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
Adopted
I agree as
resolution.
well, okay. Okay, am I covered now then?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. All right, so the next item is the 3rd supplemental bond resolution, and Chris and Brian, are you going to?
Would you like me to
Yes, please.
go through that? All right. This is a rather large package, but you will have seen some of this before, so maybe isn't quite as daunting as it looks. Pardon?
Looks like a new board member.
She's really at the speed.
Looking to move my sign.
So you have a 3rd supplemental bond resolution. The authority issues its bonds under a general revenue bond resolution. All of our revenues are pledged to bonds, and we're allowed to issue under our bond resolution additional bonds from time to time if we meet certain requirements. We maintain the 1.75 coverage requirement that's part of our commitment to our bondholders. We are also allowed to issue, under the terms of our bond resolution, our contract with our bondholders, bonds for refunding where we meet a debt service savings test. If we will save money by issuing refunding bonds, we can issue additional bonds over and above our statutory cap, over and above any particular covenant requirements, as long as we are going to save debt service. So that's the goal of this one. And Brian will speak in just a minute about what those estimates are in terms of savings. But that's the goal of this particular issue, is just debt service savings at this point. So you have 2 issues outstanding right now. You have $37 million in 2002 bonds that we issued for new money for projects, primarily the Kingston Bridge back in 2002, and 1997 bonds. We've only got $4.5 million left on that one. We have an authorization to refund those, again, to the extent we have debt service savings. The third supplemental resolution is pursuant to the original resolution. It's essentially tacked onto that resolution and provides specific terms for this issue only, and the general terms are governed by the general bond resolution. The principal authorization is $45 million. It's a not to exceed amount. We will only issue what we need, and the amount that meets the savings test. The $45 million was recommended by the financial advisor as an outside number for our issuance. The maturity of the refunding bonds, one of the things that this resolution does is establish some parameters. It will delegate to the director or the chair the ability to go ahead and issue the bonds, but it establishes parameters so that the board is saying, under these conditions, you can sell the bonds. So one of those parameters is the maturity of the bonds. Right now, the final maturity is 2017. That's the final maturity for the refunding bonds as well. In other words, we're not extending the maturity as part of this refunding. We're only looking for debt service savings within the scope of the existing maturity of the bonds. Interest rates would be based on market prices when they're sold, but the resolution establishes that the true interest cost would not exceed 4%. And the proceeds will be used for payment of costs of issuance and to establish an escrow that will be used to pay the refunding bonds when they become due, either at maturity or on call for redemption. The sale of the bonds would be pursuant to a negotiated public sale at a price not less than 95% of par. The designated underwriters identified in this resolution, as Brian indicated earlier, are J.P. Morgan as senior managing underwriter and Ray James and Ramirez as co-managers. The resolution also provides for approval of the draft preliminary official statement. The preliminary official statement is the document that the authority uses to sell its bonds. It is substantially consistent with the type of official statement that we have used in the past. And what you will see is that what I would call the front part of the official statement is a description of the authority, the bridge system, the condition of the bridges, the capital improvement program, the plan of financing for these bonds, and then what we go into in detail, what happens in the back of this is we provide copies of a number of substantial documents to the bondholders. One of those is your financial statements. Your most recent financial statements are provided to the bondholders. Now, they're already available to bondholders on a public website. It's called EMMA. That's made available to bondholders. We do continuing disclosure with your existing bondholders, but it's part of the package that we give the bondholders as part of this official statement. We have the Stantec report that you just reviewed. That report becomes part of this official statement. And in addition, we have a report from the engineer, from the consulting engineer, Majeski and Masters, that summarizes the inspection reports that they gave you at the beginning of the year. You know, they do their regular inspection reports. We provide a summary for bondholders so they can see what the condition of your bridges is. That's important to them to know what condition your bridges are in and what supports your capital improvement program. They look for all of that information to be provided together. And then finally, a summary of the bond covenants that are included in your general revenue bond resolution are part of this document. So this is in draft form. It will be finalized when we are ready to go to market. We will be working with the underwriters that we are looking to engage today on finalizing the document, and then we will be in a position to go out to market and price the bonds. There's a specific delegation, as I said, in this third supplemental resolution for the executive director or the chair to go off and go ahead and issue the bonds and determine the final terms of all of these documents in the closing. And maybe Brian wants to just speak quickly to the savings estimates that he's received from the financial advisor to date.
It should be understood that, of course, the final savings would not be realized until the actual bond issue takes place because of market conditions, but the most recent estimate with all the costs would be approximately $2.3 million. As obviously interest rates continue to, if they decline, we will do better. If they increase, we will do worse. We would always, of course, monitor what the market is doing up until the time where we propose to issue the bonds, and if it became uneconomical to sell the bonds at that point in time, we would hold off.
When we
Okay.
started this process back in the winter and had the sale occurred in the January, February timeframe, the savings would have been estimated at that
Approximately
time.
600,000 to 700,000, so it's
Only.
substantially greater.
So the window with all the due diligence that's gone on and the window of opportunity to go out to market, it seems to be at its optimal point in the next few weeks. So hopefully we hit a strike where we are now.
Right. It's actually, depending on which way interest rates go, but yes, it's continued to become more favorable. It's actually contrary to what everyone had expected. Many people expected interest rates to rise through the first half of this year, and that's the opposite of what happened.
So refundings are very sensitive to market conditions, obviously, so we'll
Yes.
hope to,
We recalculate every day, and
That's right.
hopefully it stays that way until we're able to get everything to
we're ready to
market.
price.
Chris, could you just review it? I think I
Yes.
missed it. Yeah, we have the two small outstanding yet.
You have
from the previous.
37,
No, and
Right.
how does this get paid off? Can we pay those off then when we?
January 1,
Right.
they're callable, these current debts. So what you're doing is, it's technical an advanced refund.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting the money up ahead of time from now, and then come January, we pay those bonds off.
Right.
And the new indebtedness, which is what we're doing now, is we'll continue to pay off at a lower interest rate going forward.
I think that was at 4%, most of those when which seemed like a
Right.
good rate at the
Right.
time. But,
It was a
so-
good rate at the time.
yeah.
Well, the one from 97 is actually 5.125%, and the other one, it's done in
It's always
series,
stupendous
goes
thing.
from 3.8 to 4.6, so
Yeah.
we can see a greater savings than those.
I remember reading the previous one, this resolution is the whole Bible of the whole bridge
Yeah.
authority. That's what we see.
That's right. You're absolutely right. It does really control what everybody here does in a very fundamental way. Yeah.
Does it have a vision statement in it too? It's pretty much the business plan is
Yeah.
obviously the business plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would note that we have had discussions about modernizing some of those terms. We're going to continue those discussions with the underwriters that we're bringing on board. We may, approach the board in the July meeting to discuss those and perhaps seek approval for modifications, but we are still in discussions about those at this time. So we're looking forward towards putting ourselves in the best position for the capital plan issue in the following year. So we'll be continuing that discussion. All right.
Got that all down, Joe?
Almost.
Are we ready to move on?
We are.
You just did.
Any more- well, okay, okay. Any more comments? Brian and Chris, that's, includes your comments right now?
Sure.
Okay. So, Joe, we're gonna recommend that the, board, use this bond resolution and we'll submit it at the meeting, which is going to be immediately after our close of our meeting. So, Joe, you move that we move this to the.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
move. Okay, first, and I'll second it, and we both approve it. Aye, aye. And, okay.
Keep going.
I think that's all that the finance committee has to work on today. So then, Joe, did I hear you move to close the finance meeting?
I'm not gonna read this
No.
verbatim. So moved.
So the finance committee meeting is closed. Till next time, okay?
Very good, thank you.
Easier, we have some fresh strawberries.
They're over there.
They're over there.
They are.
Ooh, babies. Come in here, I get all frazzled.
They're over there. They're waiting for you.
Oh, then I gotta wait till long.
They're all
Yes.
falling out on the table, just waiting for you.
It's presentation. Sorry.
No, wait a minute, okay, we're off here now,
We're
right?
still good.
No, we're on.
Oh, you ready to open up the,
Yes.
okay, we're ready to open the monthly meeting of June 16th. I'm going to have the people at the table here introduce themselves. Joe?
Joe Romaglia.
Okay. And we have
Carl G. Whitbeck Jr., General Counsel.
Joe Ruggiero, Executive Director.
and Rod Dressel sitting in for chairman for Fran So, who had death in the family, was absent today. And
Roger Higgins, Commissioner.
Tara Sullivan, Deputy Director.
Vane Lashua, Commissioner.
okay, who is on
Assignment.
Yeah.
Well, the record should show that Vane is connected into the meeting via teleconference, which
Teleconference,
is
okay.
permitted under public meeting law.
Okay. Our first on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
Move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
You're also approving the annual minutes. Are we or not? Yes,
Right, there's two sets of minutes, right, for the annual meeting.
for the annual meeting as well.
Right. Okay, and we really should have done that first.
Doesn't-
But anyway, okay. So then, there's minutes for the annual meeting. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right, so we'll go on. So the first on the agenda is the engineering and maintenance, and
Good afternoon, thanks for,
Bill's
Thanks for
gonna
coming.
lead us through that.
I guess first up, paralleling our financial plan is a small modification to our 5-year capital plan that we brought to you 3 months ago. Basically, all we're doing in this revision is to slightly delay the 9W overpass replacement for I-84 in Newburgh, moving it back till 2018 instead of 2015. So it's not a long delay, but it fits with our financial plan. So we'll just keep maintaining that one.
The board needs to modify it so it's in sync with the reports that line up with the Stantec report.
Stantec report. So there is a resolution attached.
Yep.
Okay, Roger moves to approve, Roger made the motion to approve it. Do I hear second?
Second.
Okay. Dane? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next
The
item,
walkway
Joe
maintenance,
has
I have
a-
one question. The walkway maintenance, there's money budgeted?
Yeah.
Priorities.
That's it.
Next up is our grant from the walkway over the Hudson, or for the walkway over the Hudson. It's a FHWA grant that was secured by the walkway themselves. They've asked us to be the municipal sponsor. What we expect to accomplish with this grant is new navigation light system, which is now a solar-powered system, and then cleaning the right-of-way and maintaining the bases of the steel towers, on land. So we've been back and forth with the DOT locally and on the federal level with the scope of work. Everyone agrees. So with your authorization, we could move forward with this.
Second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one, Bill.
Thank you. Third up is a bid opening we held. This is related to the Homeland Security Grant that we received some time ago. This particular contract will involve installing the network and the power and all the camera brackets for the Kingston-Rhinecliff Bridge and the Rip Van Winkle Bridge. The other 3 bridges had a lot of work done with our in-house forces, and these are the only 2 bridges right now without cameras. On the back page, you can see the 3 bids we received. We got an excellent price from Stilsing out of Rensselaer at $1.403 million. They've worked with us a number of times very successfully, so we'd like to recommend award to Stilson.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next one is.
Thank you. Next one is a Pure Tech. Yep, thank you. Pure Technologies is the company that's been monitoring the Bear Mountain Bridge cable since 2000. We monitor the cable for acoustical emissions that might indicate a potential wire break, as well as we have some strain gauges in place for the supplemental cables to make us aware of any load shift that might occur over time. This is the same rate we've been paying for 10 years.
I was gonna say, you've been monitoring this
Yeah.
cable for quite a while.
And they haven't, they haven't increased their fee. They've held that. So we feel that's a good price, good value for the money. There is a resolution with that also.
Okay, any other questions about the Bear Mountain Bridge cable?
Monitoring. Yep.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the next one is.
Next one is a New York City Bridge Conference. I've been asked to co-author a paper and chair a technical session. It's a 2-day conference down in New York City. So I'll just ask for one overnight and the actual registration fee. And that should work.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
you're on the road, Greg.
Our final project is, our final item here is our jobs in progress report. We're well underway with the repainting down at Newburgh and on schedule, on budget. So we don't have any other new projects until we get started on this CCTV camera project. So that's about all we have to report.
Any of them here put up yellow flags to you, or everything's,
Oh, the inspection work is ongoing for 2011, and we don't have any flag conditions to report. So far so good.
okay, so,
Bill, I was going to ask a question. One, is there any ongoing? I'm going back to the camera grant. Is there any ongoing maintenance going to be required from us, an ongoing expense because of the installation of the new cameras and the system and so on? And how does it get maintained over the years?
Well, that's Greg's problem.
Okay, no problem.
I just billed him. But yes, there is an expense and continuing maintenance required and replacement of components. So, we've been looking at building that into Greg's operating budget.
We currently carry an amount to cover maintenance of the existing cameras, and we take a look at that each year when we do our capital program, operating programs, to see we have enough to cover what we feel may malfunction during that season.
But as the systems get older, that number will go up, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Did they vote on jobs and progress? You didn't vote on the resolution on jobs and
to
progress.
approve the jobs in progress.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Ryan, you're up again, huh?
A lot fewer pages this time. So. Okay, first up would be the investment report. We made 7 purchases this month. The monthly debt service, the maintenance reserve, just to note and edit, the $1,018,000 was bought on 5/6, not 5/20. The $1,018,000 is actually the reimbursement from the port grant. Okay, so we put money out earlier in the year, so we got the money back, and we were able to invest it. Put some away in the revenue fund for some bills at the end of the year, and a good portion of the funds invested in the debt service reserve fund came due, and we reinvested those in treasuries with a roughly 2-year time horizon. Okay. In addition to that, the investment inventory on the next page goes through. It reflects all the purchases described. The maintenance reserve fund has approximately $700,000 in cash in it from an investment that matured on the 31st that will be reinvested in the month of June. The public funds interest checking had $2.8 million in it, and the revenue fund had $523 at the end of the month. Lastly, yield for the month of April was 1.08% on interest of $31.9.
The bar shows pretty, I'm dropping down on that, so.
We're pretty static or stable in our investments.
These bonds that mature a lot this year, you just roll them and reinvest.
Depending on which ones. If you look at the maintenance ones, the maintenance reserve ones, we use those to fund the capital projects that come due in that particular month. If the estimate of what our expenditures were is different from what matures, we reinvest it and roll it down the road a little further till the next time it's due.
They roll every month like that.
Yes, more or less. The ones that are fairly unique are the bad debt reserve fund. Those stay fairly static. Obviously, when we have the change in the refunding, should we do it, that would change a little bit. But for the most part, in times where the maintenance reserve fund was higher, you would see more longer-term investments. But because we're kind of at the end of a toll cycle, everything's relatively short.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. There's a resolution there.
You got a resolution for the,
Move to accept the.
So moved.
Second.
Very
All in
good.
favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay.
Okay.
The next one, Brian, is.
The next one up would be the operations report. Okay. Effectively, for the 3 months ended March 31st, you'll notice traffic volume was down 1.03%. Revenue of $8.2 million. I also apologize, there was an edit here. It's down 1.02%. Effectively, this is really before the largest declines we had. If you look at the June numbers, or at least the first 2 weeks of June, we're actually down in revenue $273,000. But as of March, we were down relatively little. It was less than $100,000. Effectively, the decreases in all but one class 6-axle trucks, and we had a noticeable decrease in passenger non-commuter. Overall interest remained fairly stable, and operating expenses were up, but many of those related to timing differences. We paid one of the cost allocations to New York State on time this year. We paid it late last year. That was $300,000. We also had an allocation for the maintenance reserve fund that was done earlier in the year. For the most part, it's still very early to go and say whether we'll come in higher or lower than last year. But at this point, we expect this overage to clear itself in the next couple of months. All right, there is no action by the board required for this. This is just an operating review.
Question, Brian?
Yes.
Do we do any comparing with other crossings, the Hudson River crossings or the tunnels, the bridges, just to see what how the traffic compares?
No, we haven't done that. But we could do that. For the most part, even in our traffic study, they didn't really look at the history of other toll crossings. I mean, depending on what was available, I suppose they could. Primarily, they look at socioeconomic data, okay, related to population and jobs, okay, and that's what they primarily use. But certainly, we could go back and take a look to see what was available, to see whether or not we're seeing those types of declines at other Hudson River crossings.
One of the things I read a report about the increases being requested for the tolls in the lower Hudson, and it was an increase of something like, I forget, it was horrible. I mean, it was very, very high.
Okay.
And in our case, I know what it was. They were increasing their tolls 10%.
Okay.
If you compare our 10% increase to their 10% increase, there's quite a. Our percent is 12% of their increase,
Right.
and or 1/8, I guess I was figured. So, meanwhile, that might be a good statistic to keep in mind for, I don't want to say PR purposes, but I guess I'll say PR purposes for later. And Is there any indication that, I mean, we might look in to see if there's any indication of traffic rerouting to our crossings versus Lower Hudson crossings because of that, and that increase in revenue might be a factor.
Yeah.
Is there? I don't know. Maybe it's too far out.
I could ask the traffic consultant about that. They didn't seem to indicate that anything from a construction perspective was occurring that would be causing a reroute to our bridges.
I mean, just financial. If you're riding an 18-wheeler across the George Washington Bridge, is quite a bit more expensive than across our bridges.
Absolutely.
And so it might make a difference in where you route your trucks to get here.
Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, I mean, we're going to have to continue to look at the traffic report and a lot of those types of issues. The biggest concern, obviously, being fuel prices, because as fuel prices have increased, you can almost see it in the weekly traffic reports. But yes, we will be continuing to look at that, and those are points I can bring up to see if that has been analyzed by the traffic consultant. All right. As I indicated, there is no, if that's all, there is no resolution associated with this. The last item would be the Maintenance Reserve Fund balance determination. In accordance with Section 503 of the bond resolution, an authorized officer indicates the required balance of the Maintenance Reserve Fund. That balance for 2011 is $63,355,000. This reflects the coming 3 years of the capital projects budget, and this is furnished to the trustee on an annual basis. This does have a resolution.
Any questions, Roger? Joe, Van, do you have any questions on this?
No, I was just going to say, because we got this so late, could we can trust Brian to attest to all its contents? I'm a notary, by the way. You could do it.
Okay. Effectively, this one's a fairly straightforward one. If you look on the second page of it, it comes from Majeski and Masters, although I can tell you all it is the first 3 years of the capital project that you just approved from Bill in the last section. So there isn't a whole lot to this one. It's very, very different from the bond resolution you looked at before.
So moved.
Thank you.
Okay. All
Second.
in favor of the resolution with the Maintenance Reserve Fund? Say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Next one is, okay, so there's one, next is, Greg?
Good afternoon. Hello, Vane.
Thank you, Greg, for all your help.
Sure, no problem.
I spent a couple of hours on the phone, or no, an hour and 2 minutes yesterday. In a great conversation. Nothing to do with setting this up. It worked in about 5 seconds as soon as we got it going.
Very good. I've got 5 items today. The first is my Port Security Monthly Progress Report. This one's very straightforward. We had no expenditures for the previous month. There is no resolution attached to that. The second item is my Jobs in Progress Report. Omni-Air continues on. This is the testing of new technology versus current technology in the lanes. We are now anticipating completion in mid-July. We had a delay due to integration issue with a third-party participant. A non-issue, they had a few things they had to rectify between themselves, and testing continues. The ITS installation project, construction had been advertised, and you awarded that earlier when Bill presented. UPS battery maintenance continues. We had a approved amount of $42,199, and to date has spent $17,246. And the touchscreen replacement program, they've been ordered and will be installed at Bear Mountain, Newburgh. We're waiting for delivery of the monitors at this point. And there is a resolution attached to that.
Move the resolution.
Joe, second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Favor of
Aye.
being? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Next one, Craig, is the camera?
Yes, this is the camera procurement, and Vane, you had asked earlier as to maintenance of cameras. That's what this is directly related to. We have a number of cameras at Newburgh Beacon Bridge that are in need of replacement. We have gone out to bid and received 6 quotes back, the lowest being $26,255. This is carried in our capital program, and we are seeking approval to procure those cameras and effect the repair at Newburgh.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, the next one is
Bridge-to-bridge connectivity.
Bridge.
Yeah, and this is just an advisement to the board. We currently, we had a contract with Hudson Valley DataNet, which has since changed its name to Light Tower, and they supply the connectivity for bridge-to-bridge. This is the fiber optic connection that we use to carry our video signals, transaction files for Easy Pass email. Anything data-related goes across these circuits. Initially, when we went with Light Tower, they were not on state contract, so we went out to bid, had a 5-year contract which expired late last year. Prior to that expiring, they were put onto New York State contract, and we are continuing on a month-to-month basis with them for connectivity. I've been talking to Carl and his office about how we need to proceed, whether we have to re-advertise and re-up a contract, or if we can continue month to month. So we're hoping to have a determination on that shortly. The total expenditure monthly is $10,369, and that's for data connectivity to all bridges, plus a connection to the Thruway Authority, through which we transmit our tag files and our transaction files for reimbursement.
There are really 2 issues going on there. One issue is they outlined fiber on our bridge, as you know, because of our dark fiber deal. Part of this original deal back then took into consideration the leasing of space on our bridge, and now that's the second issue that Carl and everyone has to address, so we could kind of make it in line with what's going on.
Okay, and there's no resolution to that.
Right.
No, just we wanted to notify the board that we are making a month-to-month payment on a contract that, it's a utility.
Previous approval.
Okay, and then my final item is, this is the system-wide ITS video installation project, which you approved for Bill earlier. These are the camera systems at Kingston Rhinecliff and Rip Van Winkle bridges. This portion is for construction inspection, integration, and support services. So this is an individual that will basically oversee the job on our behalf, making sure proper quantities are placed, that we're not overcharged, everything goes in per the design. We are under contract with TransDigm for a 5-year maintenance plus additional services, which include inspection, construction inspection, integration, and support services. So we're asking to award these services to TransDigm for the project at a cost of $220,830.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Woman,
Aye.
75%, that
Yes.
sitting grant we just threw in?
Yes, this will be submitted against the grant, and we will see a 75% reimbursement of this money.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, good. All right, operations, Wayne?
Afternoon. Vane? The first item I have today is our first quarter invoice from the New York State Thruway for Easy Pass expenses. There's nothing really out of the ordinary there. As usual, in the first quarter of the year, we pay for our tags for our commuters. This year we had an additional 2,833 tags. That cost $59,000. That's included in the total here for the first quarter. So we recommend that you give us permission to pay that bill.
Okay, all in favor of paying the Thruway, Easy Pass, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. John, you got the next one too, I think, Wayne.
The
What's
next
it,
one
Operation
is what we
Nightwatch?
call Operation Project Night Watch. In an ongoing effort to reduce our collection costs, we formed a committee about 6 months ago to look into it. About 40% of our patrons pay cash, so at this point it was we didn't feel it was the good next step to go all electronic toll collection. So we looked at what were our options. So we came up with a automatic toll payment machine, which is used at a couple other authorities, notably the Pennsylvania Turnpike and the Ohio Turnpike. The machines accept dollar bills, coins, credit cards to pay the toll. We did cost benefit.
You gotta have a brand new dollar bill and think it works, or?
Well, I'm hoping it takes slightly used ones too, If not, use your credit card if you don't have a new bill. So the cost to operate the three bridges on the overnight shift is approximately $481,000 a year. That's just for salaries and benefits for toll collectors. We issued an RFP for the...
How much do they collect? You know?
Pretty close.
Not that much. It's costing us more for the toll collectors than what they collect on the overnight shift. So we looked at these automatic toll payment machines, and we identified two companies that supply them. We issued an RFP in May, and we got 2 responses. You see on the next page there, they varied greatly. I could speculate as to why one's more, but we recommend that we go with the Revenue Markets there in Accord, New York. It's kind of a small shop, half the cost of the other one, as you can see. And
Is this kind of on is this kind of on a trial basis then? Or?
We're going to pick one lane in the beginning on one of the smallest bridges, and it's going to be interconnected to the command center. And it will become cost-effective, more efficient once you move up to the 3 bridges in the evening, but we are going to try it on a trial basis first to see how it works, work out the bugs, and to disrupt the least amount of patrons, if you will.
Is there a plan when if something, the machine goes down?
we'll call in a toll collector, and we can turn the machine off and collect tolls manually until we figure
That's
out
why
what
it's going
went
to be
wrong.
monitored by the command center, and we're going to work out software where the command center is unable to communicate with the lane, and the lane will be able to automatically do something after timeout.
Right, the command center personnel will be able to open the gate, talk to people, see the person, basically a whole remote toll collection operation.
People down the line, essentially.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Joe, or Van? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. I'm done.
Okay, next is the, we're going, let's see, looks like we're going on to, executive director's report.
I don't have any expense report to report to the board this month.
Okay, and then we're going on, you don't have any.
We have the traffic classification report, which is also just, basically what Brian went over before, about where we are with traffic and revenues.
Except for color.
Right.
Oh, right, okay, I see, okay. Is there a motion with that?
No.
Is there a resolution?
A
on it?
resolution to adopt.
Yeah, okay. Okay, in favor of move resolution on the traffic classification? We don't need one.
No,
we don't need it. Okay, so then we'll go on to new business.
We have an item under attorney-client. We have a potential lawsuit litigation issue that council needs to speak to the board and under attorney-client.
Okay, late, that'll be late. Right now? Okay. Okay.
Motion to go into.
Move to,
Motion.
move to go to executive session?
Second.
Okay. Those are all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Sorry, it's not closed.
Actually, we're going to have to go.
One.
Okay, we're reconvening the June 16th board meeting. At this time, I want to just entertain the discussion for our involvement with the IGA. And Joe, would you
Sure.
kind of explain that?
Just put on the record, please, that the executive director has been authorized to carry out the direction as discussed in executive session in contemplation of litigation regarding a matter with the IAG. And the board resumed at 4:26.
Of course, this IGA is all our involvement with toll road, with communication with other states and toll collections of other states. Okay, do I hear a motion?
New business?
Okay, that's all we have to, we don't need a motion anymore, we've got that all thing. Okay. All right, so then we'll go on to new business. Let's see, we got a report from the Finance Committee.
Why don't you do that, Chris?
Now, I want to also apologize, I didn't introduce Chris Hale's also here because she's our, helps us with our legal advice on the bond issues. Excuse me. So at this point, maybe I will just have Chris or
Maybe Brian too.
Chris and Brian will. Sure.
Chris and Brian will talk about the items we discussed in the Finance Committee.
Okay, I mean, specifically the two items.
Right. Do you want to review the items?
Just
that-
want to report
just
out
touch
the
on it?
recommendations that came out of the Finance Committee without going over everything.
Okay. So in the Finance Committee, we reviewed the underwriting selection process. The board did issue an RFP, the agency rather issued an RFP in May, reviewed the responses and conducted interviews. And the committee has reported out a recommended resolution. The resolution would authorize designation of underwriting firms to serve as senior managers and co-managers for authority bond sales over a 2-year period under and to this is a pool to authorize selection of firms for particular issues from time to time. And so the names of the firms identified for designation to the pool for use as co-manager, use as senior manager or co-manager, Bank of America, Citigroup, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Piper Jaffray, Ray James, Siebert Branford, senior manager pool, and then the additional firms authorized for the pool as co-managers, Duncan Williams, Ramirez, and Roosevelt and Cross. So that's a resolution for approval by the board, if you so choose.
Move the resolution.
Second.
With us, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The next is the supplement of the bond resolution.
Yes,
Chris,
and
you want to help them?
I certainly will. And we discussed in the Finance Committee in detail the third supplemental bond resolution. The bond resolution provides for the issuance of refunding bonds in a principal amount not to exceed $45 million to refund the outstanding bonds of the authority, and authorizes the designation of underwriters who are identified from the pool that we just selected for this particular refunding. J.P. Morgan as senior managing underwriter, co-manager Raymond James, and Ramirez.
Resolution.
Second.
All in favor of the resolution, the supplement?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
That's carried then. If there's no other, we got one, any other?
One item,
What item?
just an information. Chairman Basilia was contacted by the deputy director of the Sage Commission a week or two ago. Obviously, as you know, the governor office chose not to submit any SAGE report or legislation this session. The SAGE people have met with the Thruway board, and the chairman wanted to invite, as the pleasure of the board, the SAGE folks in to come talk to the board at some point this summer. So he wanted, before he offered the invitation, he wanted to make sure that's what the board is willing to do.
I think it sounds like a good idea. I think we have to tell our story. As if they hadn't heard it already, but
Yeah,
we'll remind them.
We keep telling the story, but just wanted Grant's going to discuss it. Brian, you have another thing?
Also, in addition to that, due to the timing of the bond, this refunding, if needed, and we need to make a change to the resolution, we may be calling for an earlier than normal July meeting. So please just be aware of that. There'll be obviously notification. At this time, we can't tell if that's needed or not.
But perhaps if we could ask you to try to hold that Thursday before the regular meeting,
It might
one
be
week before.
That way,
if that's
if
possible.
there's any amendments, you could adopt them. That way, we have enough time to go out to market. Otherwise, if we,
This is a separate meeting.
I think we move the whole meeting.
Move the whole meeting?
Yeah, that way we
So
just
it'd be
have
a
one meeting.
meeting would be on the 14th instead of the 21st.
As long as we do the proper notice, we're. fine.
Right. Okay.
Okay, any other business to be brought for the board?
Motion adjourned.
Joe, move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, we're adjourned.